More recently in my property career, I've started to do social housing. So basically, for many years, properties have become too expensive for people to buy. Now properties are becoming expensive even to rent. So what happens is that many people go to their local council in order to be housed. The council has an obligation to house people, so they can sometimes put them in travel lodges, for example, or other similar hotels for £100 a night. But many councils, if they have access to landlords that can house these tenants for £50 per night, then councils often opt for these kinds of things. So over a year and a half ago, I put a number of properties from my portfolio into such a scheme whereby you get paid nightly. For a 2-bed property, it was £45 a night, 3-bed £50 a night, and so on and so forth. So the larger the number of rooms you get per property, the more rent you're likely to get. But it entirely depends on your agency. Not all agencies operate in the same way or have the same rules, but this was the case for me. Before engaging in this strategy, I was warned by multiple people not to do this sort of thing because as the potential rental profit can be higher, the damages can also be higher. For much of the time, most of my properties were safe and I was not experiencing such problems. I trusted the management. I know the person managing the properties. He also owns an agency who will manage my other properties. So I thought the processes would be sound and the staff are good and they check regularly, and that's the main thing. So you want a professional team that checks the properties often and doesn't let them go into a state of disrepair. I have found more recently, however, I am suffering some more damages for these kinds of properties. It may not be that the tenants are getting worse, it's just that some tenants can be worse than others. I could have had a number of bad tenants at the start, or one or two more recently. It all depends what kind of tenants you get. You're often not able to choose, at least in my situation. But more often than not, the properties have been maintained very well and the rental returns are higher. Plus you're helping this growing demand and helping a demographic of society that really needs help and really need to be housed. There are different ways to house tenants. When it comes to the social housing sector, there are a number of companies. For example, I believe Serco is a company. They're not one that I have ever used, but they can give you fixed rates. They often give you fixed rates for a number of years, and they do all the maintenance and repairs and things like that, so they can get rid of this kind of headache. There is someone on social media who does short leases, which is another property strategy wherein he increases the length of lease on a leasehold property and then refinances it, and he prefers to then put the tenants from organisations such as Serco into his properties because they take care of all the void periods, the maintenance, things like that, and become less of a headache for him. And time is more important than money, which frees up his time to search for new opportunities. Basically, there are a number of things you can do with social housing, and it's a growing issue in the country, and it can often be a more lucrative approach to property investment, and you're helping this growing need of tenants who can't find housing in other traditional ways.